Dozens of scientists have denounced the Trump administration's climate report. That report, the Trump report I'll call it, called the threat of climate change overblown. The scientists, the critics, say that report is full of errors, misrepresentations and cherry-picked data. Energy Secretary Chris Wright joins me now. Mr. Secretary, what's your response to the criticism?
Yeah, you can see how political climate science has become. Over 90% of what's mentioned in the report, Stuart, is straight out of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports. We're just amplifying what's already in these sort of long, detailed, nerdy reports. And of course, that tones down the overheating about climate change, because most of what's in there is real physical data. There's change going on, but it's actually not alarming. It's not fast moving, and it's nowhere near the world's biggest problem. But if you're an activist in this space, you don't like that being downplayed.
Okay. Next one, Mr. Secretary. The president is going to review the approval of a wind farm off the coast of Massachusetts. In other words, that project could be killed. Now, yesterday, former Energy Secretary in Trump's first term, Dan Brouillette, he was on this program. He said, look, cancelling these wind projects is a bad idea. Watch this, please.
I appreciate the concern around wind power here in the United States, and certainly the use of government funds to subsidize things like ports and items that are necessary for this industry. That money can perhaps better be spent on paying down the national debt, which is now approaching $40 trillion. But pulling a permit at this stage of the process sets an unfortunate precedent. It creates a whiplash effect that I think in the long term will freeze investments.
Mr. Secretary, he was referring to the project off the coast of Rhode Island, which is almost complete, but which has now been defunded and stopped. What do you say to the former Energy Secretary?
Yeah, so look, I'm not in the details of that. That's in the Interior Department. There has been massive opposition to offshore wind that's been ignored for years. Now they're obviously getting a voice and people are digging into the details. But Stuart, one thing I'll quickly say, why are we developing offshore wind? It's twice as expensive as onshore wind, which is already our most expensive and least productive energy production source. The only reason that's happening is this sort of belief in climate alarmism, that it's such an emergency, the world's about to end, we have to do crazy things. We have to have large environmental impacts on our fisheries and our whales to produce very expensive, unreliable energy. Like, just why are we doing that? Germany, Denmark, and United Kingdom went headlong into this, and they have the most expensive electricity prices in the world. Is that the path we want to go down?
I see windmills all over the place. The president says he doesn't like windmills, he doesn't want them. Are we going to see those windmills removed?
I don't know about that. I don't think that. But I think the president, Trump, he was elected to bring common sense back to D.C. Everyone sees windmills everywhere. They're less than 2% of U.S. energy, and almost no one has seen an oil and gas well. That's 70+% of U.S. energy. The environmental impacts of wind are about as large, probably the largest of any energy source we've got, and people don't like them.
One more, sir. An appeals court ruled that climate groups cannot access $16 billion from what I'm calling Biden's green slush fund. I think this is a major win for you. What do you say?
Oh, I think it is. I think it is. Look, if you look carefully at the science and the economics of climate change, which is what we're starting to do with that Department of Energy climate report, everybody can cool down a little bit and we can be reasonable about this issue, but that's not what the left wants. For them, it's not about climate change. It's about bigger government. It's about top-down control. It's about telling you how you should live your life. And the science and the data just don't justify that. So they were funding billions to activist groups to file lawsuits, to fire up and scare children and pursue their ends via other means. I think it's a big win. And of course, the government should not be funding activist groups.
Mr. Secretary, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Stuart.